Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man with the longest winning streak of any British fighter right now. Not only that, but this man is undefeated. This man is world ranked with a WBO. It is, of course, the main man himself, Mr. Archie Sharp. Archie, welcome back on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on, mate. It's been a while. I'm pleased to be back on. Hope all is well.
There we go. All is well, my friend. So, Arch, we last spoke back in May of last year, so pretty much a year ago. You know, things have been quite slow, I think it's fair to say, in your career for the last couple of years. You know, that's the reason we haven't had you on sooner than this, but things are finally looking brighter for you. Before we talk about the recent news, you did return to the ring back in December. I was there that night at York Hall. You boxed Victor Julio. You beat him on points over 8. Just a cobweb shaker, Arch.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, it was back out in December against Victor. It was just, I think you was there, as you said, you know what you saw. He just there to better surviving mode in the end. You know, it was just tricky. But I think he did. He went on and boxed the Kazakhstan kid after myself, and he had the same problem. So it was just nice to get the rounds for myself. And then, we kick on now. Big year ahead.
And talking of the big year, let's get on to that recent news. I mean, you've decided to rejoin Queensberry and Frank Warren. They were responsible for your rise early on in your career. You left, obviously, to join MTK. You're now back. Tell me a little bit about that, Arch.
Yeah, so obviously I've been with, started my career off with Frank, as you know, and then I had an opportunity come to me just at the end of 2000, and I think it was 20, or 21, I think the last fight was with Frank, and then to join a new company, Pro Bellum. And then, so that was the plan. I was going to go to Pro Bellum out in Dubai and whatever else fights that were supposed to be out there. Sonny did headline a show out there at the Coca-Cola Arena. But unfortunately, I got injured on there, so I didn't end up fighting. But yes, that's what kind of really happened, mate. Now, like you say, unfortunately, things didn't go to plan. And now we're back with Frank, which is good. Frank and Eddie have got some big news, big things that have been happening over the last year or so. So, yeah, I've come back at a great time, and I'm very excited. Boxing's really good at the minute, and especially in the super featherweight division. So, yeah, it's been a very sticky couple of years for myself, but we put them years behind now and we move on. And, like I say, it's time to carry on when I left off with Frank.
Yeah, and obviously that time that you spent away from Frank, you know, you've took a few fights in that time. Obviously, you've still won every fight you've had, which, you know, people, I guess, don't really think about this. But if you would have picked up a loss in that time, you'd be in a real bad spot now trying to get back, you know, with Frank or whoever else suffering a loss, you know, under those circumstances. Yeah, so I want to ask you this, Arch. If you could go back in time, would you have stayed with Queensberry the whole time, or do you not regret leaving?
No, because at the time, the thing is, I've got a family, as you know, and at the time when I left, things wasn't really going, not that it wasn't going my way, because I was busy. 2019 was great. I had a great 2019, very busy, very active. Got myself up to highly ranked in the BO with Frank. And, an opportunity come, a business opportunity come, and it was something I couldn't really turn down. And I spoke to Frank as well, and even he said, you know, like, when you're getting that sort of money and things offered in front of you, it's hard to turn down. But look, we thought we took the decision to go with the new plan, and unfortunately, it never planned out the way that we wanted it to plan out. So therefore, I've had to pay the consequences of that decision, which meant being inactive for a couple of years. So that's what I paid the consequence of making that decision. And now we wipe the slate clean, and we move on now. So I wouldn't change it. I think everything happens for a reason, Joey, and I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think the timing now, I said it in an interview a couple of days ago, this is the Archie Sharp that the TV, Frank Warren, and other people haven't seen. So I'm looking forward to showcasing that since the last time I boxed with Frank.
And before speaking with Queensberry, you know, to re-sign with them, can you tell us if you spoke to anyone else, and if so, who?
Yeah, I spoke to a few. Because the thing is now, where I am in my career, I know I feel young and I haven't had much mileage on the clock. My next signing was obviously it's got to be crucial. You know, I'm 29 now, so the next signing I need it to be to get me to the world titles and the big fights. So yeah, we did have a conversation with everyone else, and look, like I say, I'm familiar with Frank. I know everyone in the office. I know everyone behind the team. So it just made sense to myself.
And obviously we talk all the time, so I know what's what, but the situation with the WBO at super featherweight has been really hard for most fans to follow. It's been really confusing even for me and you, to be honest, and we know more than the guy off the street. But yeah, the rules seem to be being made up as they go along sometimes. Top Rank seem to not only have the champion, but seem to have everyone who gets a shot at the title too. Getting back with Frank, it's no secret that he's got a great relationship with the WBO. Should we expect you to be moving back up the rankings rather than mysteriously moving down them despite winning?
Yeah, I would like to think so, mate. I would like to think so, but like I said, the main thing is dealing with next week on the 11th of May, and then sit down and see what the plan is moving forward for the rest of the year. Because like I said, there's some great things happening at the minute. You've got Frank and Eddie shows, so the 5v5s. Eddie Earn's got Zelfa Barrett, Joe Cordina. There's a couple. Them two fights I'm really interested in myself. Obviously, firstly you got Cacace and Cordina, but yeah, it's very exciting. And the WBO, I'm sure there will be my time up there. I think they put me to number 4 at the minute. I believe Lee Wood just one above. Albert Bell's still about. So yeah, we shall see. We'll see what happens and what unfolds within the next couple of months.
And yeah, you mentioned it there. It's great to see you already have a fight date locked in, May the 11th, back at the York Hall. I think that's going to mean that 5 of your last 7 fights would have been there, back live on TNT. Do you know who you're fighting yet? If you do, are you able to tell us, or are you not able to tell us?
Yeah, so there has been a name briefly mentioned. I believe it's going ahead. I'll be honest with you, Joe, if I said the name now, I don't know myself. I've literally forwarded over to Ian and Richard. They've had a look. They've agreed. It's an Argentinian kid. He boxed the Kazakhstan kid. I'll get his name wrong every time. Zoltan, is it?
Sultan Zorbek, I'm going to say.
Yes, that's the correct one. Yeah, so he boxed him, and he's boxed also a couple of the fellow Wayne Batten used to train. Same again, lost my names now. But yeah, he's been in the ring with good opposition, and he's handled himself. And he's pretty strong from what I see. So I've only watched 30 seconds of him. Like I said, I've left it to Ian Richard to deal with. They just said he's an orthodox fighter, so I'll just adapt. I won't really watch much. I'll just get stuck in and deal with it, and hopefully an early night, mate. I'm not here to mess around on the 11th. It'll be in and out and getting the job done.
And am I right in saying that this will be 2 fight camps in a row without Roy Jones being present in Camp Arch? And if that is the case, will he still be involved moving forward?
Yeah, that is correct. I was with Roy the other week when he was over. It's been a bit hard because things have been lastminute.com in the last couple of fights, or in the last couple of years, should I say. The last couple of fights that I've had have literally been 3-4 weeks' notice. With this fight, I think it got released 3 weeks ago. There was talks about me being on the show before it got released, but until things were actually announced and released, it was always a bit, like for myself, a bit touch and go, So I didn't want to make any plans with Roy because it's a big commitment for himself coming over from the States. But yeah, so moving forward, I believe I'm out again in July, at the end of July, for a title fight, hopefully. So it'll be in camp for then. So yeah, Roy is still on the scene and he's still behind. Guiding myself, Richard and Ian. So yeah, he's still part of the team, and he's still going to be a big part of it.
And a week after your fight, I think you touched on it, we'll be seeing 2 other super featherweights battling it out in Saudi for a super featherweight world title. Joe Cordina, Anthony Cacace, 2 men that you've been linked with for a long time. How do you see that fight playing out, Arch? I know that you got a lot of interest in that one.
Yeah, I've got a lot of interest in that. So to be honest with you, it's interesting because even win, lose or draw for Cacace, it'd be interesting for myself and Cacace to actually get that fight maybe hopefully in July or whenever because there's been a lot of back and forth. Obviously, ideally, I would want the winner. But if Joe Cordina wins, then I've been told he's going to lightweight, but we shall see. But for the fight itself, I do think it all depends on game plan like every other fight. Cacace can cause problems for many fighters. Cordina's obviously shown he's very, very sharp, and like I say, I've been told he's tight at the weight, so it'll be interesting to see if that plays a part of it. And I think I'm backing Cordina to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was any upset, like, if it went the other way.
And I want to ask you as well, who is actually on your radar right now realistically for the next couple of fights? Because that's a question that if I ever asked you it before, we'd say, oh, you might want to fight that guy, but that's politically not going to happen. But with Frank and Eddie, now seeming to be able to sit at the business table, it opens up, this list, this roster of fighters that now could possibly get made. So it's quite an interesting question, I think, now, that one.
Yeah, so I agree. There are some fighters there. You got obviously on Frank's side, you got Cacace, which very interests me, and then Zelfa Barrett with the 5v5 also is very interesting. If you asked me this beforehand, obviously it was only going to be Oscar Valdez, Navarrete, Shakur Stevenson. That was only the names on my radar, but now things have definitely changed politically. I reckon there's some other fights out there for myself, because nobody knows what's happening with Navarrete at the minute. Depends if he wins in May. Oscar Valdez is still there, so he still is obviously on the radar now. He's the interim. But there is a new guy who's just come onto my radar. Is the guy who beat Jamel Herring. He's now got my belt, my WBO global belt. So if that means me quickly going to beat him up just to get my belt back, then so be it.
Jackson John England is the guy, yeah. Okay. Also, this weekend we're going to be seeing Canelo and Munguia. A lot of people really hyped up for this one. Obviously, it's an unbeaten Mexican against a Mexican legend. A lot of people were actually saying that Munguia's got a big chance here. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Canelo. Do you have a prediction for that one, Arch?
Yeah, I agree with that. To be fair, I think it's going to be a hard fight, and I think it's going to be a hard fight for Canelo. But to be honest with you, I'm just going to back Canelo just for preference because I feel like I think he's a great fighter. But yeah, that's why I'm going to back Canelo. I'm going to go. I can't see anyone being stopped. I think it'll go points.
Yeah.
But either way, I think it's going to be a great fight. I think they're both going to be in the middle. There's going to be some great shots given and taken from both fighters.
Yeah, I agree with every word of that, to be totally honest with you, mate. Before we wrap things up, if you've got any closing words, Arch, I think once upon a time you'd been on the podcast more than any other fighter. I know it might even still be a record that you hold, but yeah, it's probably the longest that we've gone without having you on, almost a year. So if you want to just come back with a little message before we wrap things up, take it away, my man.
Yeah, just the usual, mate. Just thanks for all the support that everyone's had and tuning in to yourself and me. And I'm just looking forward to what we've got coming. I really believe this is now the time for myself. Like I say, back with Frank Warren now, so stay tuned. We've got some big fights ahead and some big news. And watch me win a world title.
There we go. Big year for you, Arch. Absolutely. The pleasure's always mine. Thanks for your time. Best of luck on the 11th, and we'll certainly speak sometime after that.
Cheers, Joe. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.